there's news that's tempered a bit because of this diagnosis of hyperemesis gravidarum, and that's why we want to turn to Dr. Rebecca Brightman. She's a clinical instructor of obstetrics and gynecology at the Mount Sinai School of Medicine, and Maggie Kelly, a mom of 3 who suffered from HG during all 3 of her pregnancies. Good morning, ladies.
Good morning.
Well, Maggie, I want to ask you about your experience in a moment, but for those who are just tuning in and learning about this rather rare condition, doctor, can you tell us what it's all about?
Well, hyperemesis gravidarum really pertains to the extreme situation of the nausea and vomiting that many women experience, or term morning sickness, in pregnancy. So it really only can affect approximately 2% of women who are in fact pregnant.
But it's something that's far more than what people might think of, getting a little sick in the morning and then going on with your day.
Absolutely. In these women, we see severe dehydration, their electrolyte imbalances, their urine becomes very, very dark. They start spilling ketones in their urine, which is evidence of the fact that they're actually breaking down their own fats to use as nutrition. They have many symptoms of dehydration. In addition, they're feeling lightheaded. They're just feeling lousy.
I know back in an earlier time, the author Charlotte Bronte is suspected to have died of hyperemesis, but it is no longer, in fact, life-threatening, correct?
Well, if someone really doesn't seek the appropriate attention, potentially it could be life-threatening. But the good news is there are a lot of ways in which this can be treated. And as obstetrician gynecologists, we actually treat it rather aggressively.
Well, let's turn to you, Maggie. You really went through this. You have 3 babies. And as I understand it, the way you experienced this illness got progressively worse with each pregnancy?
It did, yes. With my first son, I was able to manage it just with medication. You know, after a period of time, I was able to go back to work. And you know, really by 24 weeks, I was feeling not normal, but pretty okay. With my second child, I had to go to the hospital a couple of times for IV fluids. And then by the third one, you know, I was on an IV at home for a period of time of 2 weeks and receiving a constant pump of anti-nausea medication. So
I know a lot of women who've experienced this, and the fact that we all call it morning sickness in any form kind of irks them because it does not reflect what you actually go through.
It's not morning sickness in the sense that I think people typically think of it. It's kind of like morning sickness on steroids. It's a pervasive, debilitating, intense nausea that you have from the minute you wake up until the minute you go to bed at night.
And even the simple act of getting up out of bed can make you feel that nausea?
Yes. I mean, it's with you all the time. You know, especially with my third one, I spent weeks basically laying on the couch. I mean, there was just, I couldn't do anything else. And I needed a lot of medical help, really, just to keep myself hydrated and you know, keep the baby and me healthy. And
do I have this right? In your final pregnancy, it lasted pretty much the entire 9 months?
It did. It wasn't that level of intensity the whole time. For me, at the 24 week period, the intensity kind of drops off. I say I can kind of regain satiety at that point. You know, I can get up, I can go about my day. I still needed medication, and I still had to be very careful about what I ate.
But if we're thinking optimistically, doctor, most people go through this for about 14 weeks or so?
Yeah, typically these symptoms abate by 16 to 20 weeks. In the rarest of circumstances, 5% of people with severe hyperemesis can have symptoms throughout the remainder of their pregnancy.
Well, Dr. Rebecca Brightman, good information. And Maggie Kelly, thanks for coming on and sharing your story. We appreciate it.
Thank you.